On February 15th, 1775, at 3 o'clock in the morning, His Majesty's ship Halifax left Cranberry Isles, headed for Passamaquoddy. They had to stop at Machias to get a new pilot because the pilot they had didn't know the way from Machias to Passamaquoddy. The pilot wanted to come into Machias Bay, but he messed up and came into here, this bay. They were going past that last island to port there, on the other side, going at a good clip, about 7 knots. The captain, Lieutenant Joseph Nunn, inquired of the pilot, "Aren't we a little close to the island?" The pilot said, "Oh no, it's plenty of water." And that's when they ran onto a rock ledge. The ship turned to the side to the waves. The captain called for all sails to come down except the head sails, where they tried to get the ship off the rock ledge with the head sails, but it didn't work. And they tried to kedge it off. The kedging is where they take the anchor with a boat and row it out and drop it, and then they use the winch on the ship to pull it toward the anchor. That didn't work either. Then the captain called for the ship to be abandoned. The ledge was about 1,000 feet from Sheep Island, last island to port there. Bear in mind this is February 15th. It's about 12:30 in the afternoon, and they have about 5 hours before dark to abandon ship to that island. Bald island, no trees, no shelter. They have to take sails, spars. That night came upon a bad storm, snow and wind. The next morning they got up and all they could see of the ship was just a mast floating on the water. They also lost their 2 boats, so they're down to 1 boat. This 30-man crew. The captain ordered the master, who is usually around here known as the second mate, to go to Bucks Harbor with the pilot. He said, "Don't lose the pilot. We need him for the court-martial." After some difficult rowing and high seas, they finally made it to Bucks Harbor. But there were no ships in the harbor at the time, and they made their way to probably the nearest house and knocked on a door. Mrs. Beal answered. While they were talking to Mrs. Beal, the pilot took off and they lost him. Mrs. Beal said, "My husband has a ship, but he's 3 miles upriver." So they had to get back in the boat and go up and find Mr. Beal and his sloop. And by the time they got back to Bucks Harbor, it was too dark to do anything, so they had to spend the night there with the Beals. The next morning, Mr. Beal took the boat crew back to the island and rescued them about 9 o'clock in the morning. The Margaretta came in months later, and one of her missions was to recover cannons that had been recovered from the wreck. And they recovered 4 of the 6 cannons and were put on to Margaretta.